What's up, world? Carl Shepard here, checking in for my 24th installment of the Sober October 2019 challenge. It's been a good run. It's almost over. I'm in this fabulous chair tonight. I'm still in the same office that you normally see me, except for I've turned the camera the other way. I just got through rearranging this room. This is my crib. Our son will slowly be transitioning into sleeping in his crib more and more. Right now, he's still just really not quite there yet, and we've been usually keeping him in the living room. It's just a more cuddly, more like, I don't know, inclusive environment where we've been switching off, where one of us kind of stays out there and just monitors, making sure he's all right, or we'll sleep in the bedroom, but we can really hear well, so as soon as there's a single whimper, we just run straight out. And slowly but surely, very quickly at this point, I'm sure it's going to evolve into him spending every night in here, in his crib, just like Leon did. Well, Leon, not in this room, but, in this crib. It's the same crib, just in a different place. But this will be the chair that I feed him many late night bottles. It's a far, far improvement from the chair that I used to feed Leon in during his overnight times. So it feels good. I'm ready for it, and my wife's back into the full swing of work now, and she has reported that she's feeling good and has had a good experience coming into that back to work. And I know that's got to be tough. A lot of stress, a lot of fires to put out for her to get back on schedule, and these are exciting times. Once our routine's locked in, this is going to be the routine that we live with for a while. So as efficient as we make it will be the more gains we reap. But as always, I try to think about some kind of a overarching topic to kind of ramble on about. And this is a tough one, but why is it important to believe in something greater than yourself? And no, I might not be talking directly about religion here. I know that from a Christian standpoint, they believe that we're all broken people, and what that means is that we all have the capacity for failure, and we will all fail throughout life. Little things, maybe big things, it's different for everybody. But the implication with that is not some sort of derogatory thing. The implication is simply that it's okay to fail, and through open acknowledgement of our shortcomings is how you are going to transcend or grow and become a better version of yourself. And so they have this archetype called Jesus Christ. And what that is what it would look like for a human being to not have that problem, not fail or make errors. It's just this display of the perfect balance, between decisions, between when to sheath your sword versus when to, the great scene where he flips the tables in the courtyard and chases the money manipulators out or whatever. I don't know, but if you're a Christian, you know what I'm talking about. However, I'm done with the religious part of it, because it doesn't have to be like that. You can use different words to explain the same concepts. And I know that for whatever reason here in America, there's a growing group of people that are completely turned off by talk of scriptures, talk of religion. There is something called the Enlightenment, the postmodern era, the elite academic types that believe they have logicked their way out of religion. I'm down with that. It's okay. You still, I'm curious if you still have to believe in something greater than yourself, no matter what you call it. Is it, I think for a lot of people, it's either planet Earth, maybe, like we need to be making our decisions based on what will, keep the species alive on the planet, or society, maybe, like we need to be making our decisions based on what would produce the most inclusive, free society where the most people have the same starting opportunity, the same equality of opportunity. It could be, your belief in a greater, more perfect version of yourself. I used to say a lot of times, I used to try to articulate it this way, that envision a future version of yourself that is the best version of yourself you can imagine. A version of yourself where you have succeeded, you have got your bucket list items checked off, people consider you wise, your family loves you, you have built personal relationships, and you have just, ascended to the highest order of possibility for yourself, given where you started. And then try to establish a dialogue with that future self. Try to glean what advice that version of yourself would give for you to bridge that gap, for you to walk that path through life to where you'll end up there inside that body, inside that perfect situation, or whatever, close to perfect. And that's kind of the same thing. You're believing in something greater than your current self. I really think something like that's important, and I think this is actually touching on the discipline episode that I talked about just a few back, where there's this structure in your head that you it's like almost like an algorithm. Every time you make a decision, you gotta plug your decision into your discipline structure to see if the outcome produced is gonna be who you are. Like, is this my character? Does this equal who I am or who I want to be? But no matter how you frame it, I recently watched, and I recommend Joe Rogan podcast. He recently had on Richard Dawkins, who is a devout atheist, and he believes that you can logic and reason people through to morality. My question is, to an atheist, how does one determine the difference between subjective and objective reality? And where do we then get our structure for a proper society? And this is not necessarily even a bash on atheism or a critique. It's a pure question. I'm trying to dissect it because I have always considered myself somewhere between an atheist and an agnostic. So the reason I say that is because I feel spiritual, and I can't help that. Um, Through my life experiences, I've had moments where I felt extremely connected to something other than my physical body or my identity as a human being. I really, for whatever reason, kind of have this idea that I am physically here, Carl Shepard, but I'm actually my true self, my final self is the consciousness that is attached to this quantum field created in my brain. Like our brain has enough neurons to create this quantum, like fourth dimensional field that is like a piece of bait almost that you can like use to cultivate some sort of consciousness, and that consciousness is your higher self. There's a picture of this kind of manifested. I believe it's Michelangelo, I want to say, in the 16th chapel. I'll pop a picture of it up right here. And so you see on the left side, it is the man, it's the human man. It's like the animalistic, natural, impulsive, flawed, beast type human. And then it's reaching out from the ground to this divine looking, wise looking, floating man that is kind of the future self of that first person. And there's there's no way to tell how deep that little thing goes, and there's like these little creature humanoid things coming out of it. And if you look closely, that shape is a brain. Look at it. It's a side view of a brain. And what I see in this image is the relationship between mind and body. I see our calling to develop this higher order of thought. And now, back. No more picture. So, that's just an illustration for what I'm talking about. Spirituality. Everybody that's in a religion, like a tribal religion, similarly even to like a political party, right? They are certain that their particular order of being, their way of life, their ideology is the way to transcendence. It is the structure, it is the path that we can take to build a consciousness strong enough to survive outside of, or despite losing, this vessel that is our body. It's like right now I'm an awkward, almost not even self-aware, like multi-dimensional consciousness, conscious little spirit sapling trying to grow and develop inside my little quantum field brain here. And if I can have enough life experience and glean the wisdom and build the knowledge and live an examined life and be introspective and develop character, and through that develop a relationship with whatever it is that higher, whatever that higher calling or that higher power out there is, that I will likely develop, hopefully develop a relationship with it, or a conscious understanding, or a spirit body. I mean, whatever it is that, whatever it is, I don't know, and I'm still calling ignorance to it. Like, I have to admit, I love the way the Christians do it. This whole concept of Jesus Christ is very interesting to me because it bleeds right into the Constitution. It's individual sovereignty of every single human being. We are born equal. Doesn't matter genes, nothing. None of that matters. You were born, you have the ability to transcend. You have the ability, you have upward mobility in this life, but even beyond. Just, it's really not for everybody to believe that there will be consciousness past the human body, but for those that do believe that, I think it's maybe easier to believe in something higher than yourself. For those that don't, for those that believe that this is just it and we're just like a weird chemical bag of DNA that sprang into existence randomly inside this Goldilocks zone on this planet out in the middle of nowhere, how does one get from that like scientific place where all we are is just kind of this random, chaotic, evolved being, to a system of social cohesion that can produce a positive result? Like, I don't know. I used to think that, like Dawkins, I used to think that we were just going to educate enough people so properly that logic and reason would just take over, and we would like come out of this ancient like fairy tale land of religious dogmas and religious fantasy into a new age of like whatever, postmodern enlightenment. The problem that I'm facing right now is I don't understand how that will bring forth a better society, because I currently see boundaries just getting completely decimated. Like, part of the religious structure, it's been this long, like thousands of years process of fine-tuning these allegories or these stories or these fables. And what it is it's just a collection of stories that are so tightly packed with social contracts, ways of being, modes of being, ways to interact with each other, you know, when to turn the other cheek or when to, you know, flip a table. Or, you know, Jesus in this one scene tells his disciples to go on this journey and travel around and take no food, take no weapons, take nothing. You will be taken care of. And he was proving one message. But, you know, there was this other time where he sent the same people out and he said, this time, take all your money, take food, preparations, bring weapons. And he was teaching a different point. And to me right now, those are just extremely fine-tuned descriptions of a way of being, to where then a society can form around it and everybody's on the same page. Okay? So what I'm seeing from this other group that I really have a lot of, you know, hopes and dreams for, is a complete dissolution of any kind of social norms whatsoever. It's like we're just going to knock down the house. We're just going to destroy all social norms and just say that it's just some giant power structure where this one small group of, dudes that just got there first kind of built this thing up to where they would be in control, and none of it's real and it's all just completely made up, and every human being is, just kind of like equal on this weird level where it actually really matters what your biological beginning point is. And I'm like, this is dangerous. I think norms to a certain degree are important because as a parent, for example, there has to be a spectrum. Like when I'm having these conversations with, say, this is just a hypothetical conversation with my son, one of my sons, or both, how do I describe the proper mode of being? And how do I describe what is right and what is wrong, what is moral, what is just, what is virtuous, when there are no norms, when there are no fully established social contracts of how to be, when it is become a common norm for a word like greed to not automatically have a negative implication. Like the Ayn Rand version of greed is not a negative thing. It's like basically what drives society in that view. It's like everybody's going to be greedy and everybody's going to do what's in their own best interest. And so you just have to build society around that knowledge. Well, I'm over here like, man, I don't want to be like that. I want to live where all my decisions filter through my character. And my character dictates that I don't make selfish decisions. I make decisions based on what's best for my personal relationships, based on what's best for my family, and I am willing to compromise what's best for me to synergize with a greater ideal of, this perfect family shepherd or this cohesive community. And that changes the definition of a lot of words. And so then it turns a word like greed into an instantly negative thing because I don't want to be greedy. And the reason I go down that rabbit hole is because it draws right back to my point. When you believe in something greater than yourself, it humbles you because you're not always right. And the first thing you think isn't always the one that's right. And I'm not sure if it's possible to build a relationship with another person, like a peer, like an equal, that you build a loving, serious, honest relationship with that is built on mutual trust and selfless concern, where it synergizes. And it's not just tit for tat. It's not just who can get the other person to compromise most or who can, come out on top. Who's the leech and who's the one being sucked off of or whatever. Like, where it's actually a team and both people participate in this kind of synergistic effect where you grow together and come out ahead of where either one of you could have gotten on your own. Or, if it's a whole group of people or society, like it works, it scales. This thing scales. But greed cannot be part of that. Greed cannot be part of that. If one person in a relationship is greedy, or if one person on the board of directors or whatever, if everybody's operating on personal greed, then the entire dynamic shifts. And it's all about damage control and not being responsible for anything and always trying to twist a situation to where you're not the one that's like to blame, or there's no like fault of yours, or it's like always somebody else's fault. And if that's the primary focus, there cannot be synergy. There can't be. It's just a zero-sum game where it's like the cards are all on the table and you're just trying to get as many of them as you can. But that's not how capitalism works, and that's not how the best societies in the world so far have formed. The best societies and the highest order of wealth is generated by people voluntarily, and that's key, voluntarily doing business with each other, voluntarily building relationships where both parties, all parties involved, are getting something they want, and they are not destroying something to get it. Like, you're not tearing somebody else down or taking something somebody else has to get yours. You are creating a situation where you want, let's say you're a food vendor, you know, right in that moment, I want that hot dog. And that food vendor wants that $2 or whatever. And it's a good deal to me, and it's a good deal to them, and it synergizes. But he paid less than $2 for that hot dog. I know that. He's making money. But I care more about the hot dog than I do about the money at that moment in time, so it works. We've got this situation now where we are inadvertently basically destroying the Constitution just to coddle people, just to force situations where people are having to do business or interact with others that they don't want to. And it could be for stupid reasons. It doesn't even matter. But the entire point of the thing is we need to keep our society. This is my opinion, and I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe give me some feedback. I love feedback, and I can be wrong, but what if we leave society alone and don't dictate and don't force people into situations where they have to interact with people they don't want to? And you can just do that. If you don't want to interact with somebody, you don't want to sell to somebody, you don't want to buy from somebody, nobody can get you in trouble for that. How about that? How about no matter what the reasons are? And what that does is it forces personal responsibility. Because maybe it's not about bias. Maybe it's this other person is hard to interact with. Maybe they're not personally growing. Maybe they're just wanting to always have an excuse for why they're not getting their way. And so it's, this other person must be biased against me for some reason. Well, maybe it's your lack of character. Or maybe it's that you don't believe in a higher force, This is all just revolving around that same idea of believing in something higher than ourselves, because that's honestly what humbles you, and it's what generates this need or this passion to become better, and also to seek out different opinions. When you accept that you're wrong a portion of the time, and that you have things to learn from other people, and that other people's opinions that are different than yours actually hold value that you could learn something from, changes the game, changes the entire way that you see the world. Because instead of hearing somebody's contrarian opinion and saying, whoa, that person challenges my worldview, I'm just going to deplatform them. I don't want to talk to them. They're an enemy. They're against the cause. They're on the wrong side of history, whatever. Instead, you listen and you say, whoa, wait a second. That person's saying some stuff that it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't jive with my personal ideology. Maybe, what is there? What is there? Is there, is there something there that I don't understand? Let's dig down deep and further, and let's not bring it to aggression. Let's not immediately believe this person is the enemy. Let's go over there and let's talk to them and let's see why they think that way, and then let's sit on it for a while. Let's, dissect it and figure out, well, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I could grow a little bit. Maybe I could accept that I'm okay. You don't have to be like broken or a failure or whatever. It doesn't have to be about like you being a terrible person. I understand that might like produce some sort of depression or whatever in some people, but it's not worth it. It's not worth it to coddle people. Anyway, I trailed off there a bit, but somewhere inside this ramble, there's a good point. And, I never said these videos were going to be any good. I just said that I'm working through this stuff myself, and I need to get it out there so I can rewatch it, so I can kind of sharpen these tools, because it's new and this is different and it's difficult. But I don't know exactly how to pin down the thing that I believe in that's greater than myself. It's God. What's the definition of God? Is it the complete, all-encompassing consciousness, like every single self-aware consciousness on the entire universe all put together, every single consciousness working all at one time? Maybe all that self-awareness, maybe we are all connected, and that total connection of consciousness is God's perception. You can see through all of our eyes, or whatever. He, she, it, whatever. Or, whatever. It could be something else. Maybe you just believe in that you want the species to survive. You just want human beings to make it, But I just challenge you to try to figure that out. That's what I do. I just want you to not just give up on the whole thing and just believe you're right about everything all the time, or that if only the rest of the world was as enlightened as you are, that everybody would just get along perfect. That's gross. That's what leads you to Marxism. And it really is. I'll leave it there. I could just probably keep going on, but this is trailed off. And fitness, going great. Sleep, getting ready to do that. Mood, I'm in a pretty good mood. I've had some really deep conversations today with some really intelligent people, and this project's helping. I'm definitely not going to keep going past into November, but I will keep creating content, and I just want it to be better. I want it to be more like scripted, or more like just on some sort of target. I added another name or two to my podcast possible names list. Pride Open with Carl Shepard. That's like maybe unpacking something that's very difficult. You have to pry it open, or like the Tool song "Prying Open My Third Eye." What about fresh water? Fresh water is very important. Like fresh water with Carl Shepard, it's like water, moves and flows, and it's very malleable, and fresh water is incredibly important. I don't know, there's a lot of weird like nuance and analogies that you could spin off of that one. The Peacetime Battlefield podcast, that's a good name. That's one I like. I've been kind of throwing around. It's like, we all know what a wartime battlefield looks like, it's bombs and chaos, but a peacetime battlefield, that's up here. That's hearts and minds. That is culture and ideology and philosophy. So I like that one. I don't know, those are kind of the top. Full Spectrum podcast. That's another one. Full Spectrum. Just kind of, that means, obviously just kind of looking at the entire scope of an issue, the full spectrum of an issue, not just like the part that I feel warm and fuzzy about, but like the part that makes me uncomfortable. But yeah, I think one of those is going to happen, and I'm going to start making some episodes after this, and who knows what else will happen, but this is a good thing. Watch it. Hey, I suggest everybody pick some kind of topic, look into a camera, turn it on, start recording yourself, ramble on for a while, just truth, let it flow, just throw caution to the wind, and then hit the stop button and turn that bad boy around and watch yourself. Watch yourself talk, watch yourself think openly and vulnerably, and there's value in it, man. I'm doing it right here. I can tell you, personal experience. It helps. It helps. The reps matter. And this is going to be a comfy chair to feed my son in. This is a good setup here. And I'm going to cut it off. This has been a long ass ramble. So, hope you guys have a good night, and I'll see you again tomorrow.